company at the center of our thin blurred line investigation is shut down tonight for now.
Well, we first told you yesterday, Solaren's license to operate was officially suspended for 30 days. The CEO of the company, though, is claiming in an email to WSMV4 Investigates that his company is not suspended. But one of their most high-profile contracts is confirmed to be over. At Wednesday's budget hearing, Councilman Sean Parker described Solaren in this way.
And I think everybody here is familiar with some of the issues that Solaren has had.
Issues that prompted Wednesday's bombshell ruling by the state that the company knowingly allowed people who were not state-certified law enforcement to wear police identification, as we exposed in our thin blurred line investigations, upping a fine to the company to $118,000 and suspending their license to operate for 30 days. But in an email to WSMV4 Investigates, the company's CEO, Jack Bird, wrote, "This is blatantly false and not accurate. No suspension has taken place, nor do we anticipate it will." Tonight, a spokesman for the State Department of Commerce and Insurance, which oversees security company licenses, confirms the license is suspended. But back to Wednesday's meeting, Parker asked the Nashville Downtown Partnership if it was still using Solaren to operate additional security downtown. Now, you may recall, last May, we exposed how off-duty state troopers contracted with Solaren were accused of operating a shadow police force in downtown Nashville, with a former trooper on the detail describing how they were directed to clear downtown of the homeless and arrested hundreds of homeless people, prompting outrage from citizens.
The Nashville Downtown Partnership have hired a subcontractor that hires off-duty Tennessee Highway Patrol officers to harass and arrest our unhoused neighbors.
The Nashville Downtown Partnership told the council it now has a new company providing that security, telling WSMV4 Investigates in an email that the contract with Solaren naturally expired today, May 15th, that the new security company, Civicity, will utilize off-duty Tennessee Highway Patrol officers to augment Metro Police officers throughout the district. I have emailed Jack Bird twice now since he sent me that email with questions about what he wrote. No response yet. He can make a filing with Chancery Court to essentially appeal this ruling, and we've been checking court records all day. There has been no motion yet.